Hey guys, this is Frozen Team Studios here, and welcome back to another video. And today, I'll be reviewing Rocky Balboa. So, Rocky Balboa is the sixth installment in the Rocky franchise. Came out in the year 2006 and is directed by Sylvester Stallone and stars Sylvester Stallone, Antonio Tarver, Milo I don't pronounce his name, Burt Young, uh, Geraldine Hughes, Tony Burton, and some others. Basically, the plot for his movie tells the story of Rocky Balboa, who's pretty much living in his life of retirement, and he's just starting to get old. He feels like he retired from boxing, and he recently lost his wife Adrian because Adrian got cancer weeks before this movie took place. Rocky Balboa now owns a restaurant named after his wife Adrian, and he like once in a while reunites with his son. Yeah, so basically Rocky's just living a life of retirement, but suddenly he sees a virtual fight of himself versus the new heavyweight champion, Mason the Lion Dixon, and this gets Rocky Balboa motivated back to boxing, and as he decides to take on Mason. So yeah, Rocky Balboa. Now I'm sure you all know how much I hated Rocky Five. Rocky Five is without a doubt the worst Rocky film I have ever seen. Period. So I actually had high hopes for this movie, mainly because it actually got good reviews. I hear people say this is one of the best in the franchise. Like people would easily put this in their top five favorite Rocky films, and I mean they will only put it right behind the first Rocky and the Creed duology. Some say this is better than Creed 2, but I mean for sure I knew I was not gonna agree with that. Because you probably might be aware of how much I adore Rocky 2, but I was hoping that this can be the redemption of the franchise after the disastrous Rocky 5. I mean, Rocky 5 was just really bad. It was just terrible. It literally destroyed the franchise. This movie needed the risk to be able to bring back this franchise to its former glory. And yeah, and even when people say this is one of the best Rocky films, I was hoping. And what do I think of this film? And yes, by the way, this is another one of those Rocky films I have not seen yet. So yeah, unfortunately, this is going to be a controversial review because, yeah, Rocky fans are probably gonna hate me for this. But I did not like this movie. I'm sorry, but I was completely let down by this movie. Yeah, I know you guys are surprised because, but of you probably had no idea what I was gonna think of this film anyway. I really wanted to like this film, but yeah, it just wasn't for me. This is easily the most overrated installment in the Rocky franchise, and maybe one of the most overrated films I've ever seen. Like easily in my top 10. Let me just say right now that I do not think that Rocky Balboa is a bad movie by any means. I can totally see where this movie is coming from, and there's some really good qualities in it. I like the attempt of replicating the success of the original Rocky. It removes the cheesiness from the previous sequels. Although I did like the cheesiness in the third and fourth film. The fifth one though, no. Um, yeah, and it removes the cheesiness to make something a little more grounded and serious, and that's what I like about Rocky Balboa. It's somewhat more grounded and serious, which is pretty much what the Creed film is. But I'll get to that when I talk about those films. I will say that they really did a good job with handling Rocky because in the last film they handled Rocky really terribly. I hated what they did with Rocky. So this one would. What they needed to do it is to make Rocky again, and that's exactly what they did. I really love Rocky's arc of of his retirement life. Him like pretty much trying to honor Adrian's deaths, and then coming out of retirement to fight Mason. I really like that. And Sylvester Stallone's performance, I think this is one of his strongest performances, Rocky, besides the original film, and pretty much some others. I mean, Sylvester Stallone's always great as Rocky, but I really loved him in this one. And wait, where was I? And I will say that the final boxing match at the end was absolutely brilliant. It may not be my favorite boxing match in the entire franchise, but what I love about the final battle with Rocky versus Mason is how they actually made it like they actually made it feel like real boxing. I mean, it actually feels very realistic. Like, I'm sure you know if you watch boxing, like as someone who watches boxing, I'm impressed with how they made that. If you watch boxing, you probably know how it works, like the flow of it. Like how do I say this? You always hear the reporters the whole time, and you can see how the fighters actually fight. Like you can easily tell that there is so many research put into this. Like the writers of this film and the director might have done some research on Sylvester Stallone. He probably did some further research on real boxing, and he really wanted them to make it feel like real boxing. So I really love that. Just clever. Um, it's not as great as the other. I'll explain why later, but I will just say, yeah, this is easily the best scene in the film. No doubt about it. I also thought Marie was a solid character in this, and Marie is pretty much very important to the plot point because she was an old friend of Rocky back in the previous films, and yeah, if you don't know who Marie is, she was in the previous Rocky films, and now she's older in this one, and pretty much we get a Rocky and Marie relationship, though definitely not love interest, just like a friendship relationship like that. But unfortunately, that's where all the good things come. That's all for the good things. Now let's get into what I didn't like about the film and why it wasn't good. And definitely the flaws kind of outshine the positives, even if it's not a bad film. The biggest issue with the film is how boring it is. I didn't mind that there was only one boxing scene, and I understand that it focuses on Rocky character development, but like, at least the first Rocky movie didn't bore me at all. It really kept me engaged throughout. This one was a snooze fest, and I just didn't care about most of the things that was going on. Besides, Rocky's storyline was, well, not that great. It was just good, but I don't know. It's just so boring. I found this one to be really lifeless. I nearly fell asleep watching this movie. No joke. Nothing in this movie made me pumped up. Even the final boxing scene, despite it being brilliantly made, didn't even do anything to make me pumped up, which is why it's far from one of my favorite. Like, there is not a single part of me that made me go yes when Rocky wins. At least in Rocky Four, say what about the film, but at least the fight scenes do get you. At least the movie does get you pumped. It really does get you really for Rocky directing like an undefeatable person, like someone who's indestructible, and you really want to get up and cheer for him. This one, there's nothing like that. It was just like, yeah, obviously Rocky is gonna win like that. Um, and even the train montage didn't get me pumped up. I mean, it tried to be like the original Rocky with the iconic Rocky music, but I just didn't really like it that much. It was, I mean, I don't know why, but I mean, it was so bland and forgettable, so poorly shot, which I will get into the cinematography later. It was so poorly shot, so bland, so lifeless, and didn't have the same energy as the original Rocky did. Didn't care about Rocky's side, but to be fair, I never liked him to begin with. The only time I literally liked Rocky's son is in Creed 2, like which he only appeared for like 50 seconds, and that's pretty much it. I hated how they killed off Adrian. Sure, I mean, Rocky's some arc of mourning and honoring Adrian was decent, but I mean, did they really need to kill her off? I mean, I feel like, I mean, I understand that she died from cancer, but to be honest, I had to Google it up. Like, I didn't really see an explanation. I didn't really catch an explanation of why Adrian died, so I had to like literally Google it up, and that's where it said that Adrian died from cancer. Maybe I like you can. And by the way, I was paying attention to the movie. But we didn't need to kill off Adrian. If they kill off Adrian in the Korean movies, I would totally understand. But this one, I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about it. But sure, Adrian had her fair share of moments where she became hateable, unlikable. But yeah, she didn't deserve to be killed off like this. the so-called villain was the blandest villain in the franchise. He's not the worst villain. He's better than Cobber, and suddenly better than Tommy Gunn. But it doesn't say much. It's hard to question if this guy's even a villain because he doesn't do anything antagonistic. He's just basically some heavyweight champion who a lot of people like have a huge distaste for him. They hate him. The movie doesn't even explain why they hate him. Besides, oh, he's not a real winner. He doesn't fight by heart. He's no Rocky. That's pretty much why they don't like him. But that was a terrible excuse to not like someone. That's very similar to my criticism for the Banshees of Inisherin, where like this person hates another person because for a pretty piss poor reason. Yeah, it's basically like that. And he doesn't even do anything antagonistic. And even in the end, Rocky pretty much acknowledged him for like actually fighting with his heart. So, what's the point of like trying to make him the antagonist if he doesn't do anything antagonistic? He's not really a villain. In fact, this movie had no villain. It's just a poor shame. And Also the actor who plays him, he looks so bored out of his mind. He looks like he didn't care about what he was doing. And the last flaw I want to mention is the looks of it. I mean, this movie actually tries to have a style. The cinematography basically has this sort of white gray, this white color gray to it. And I did not like that. I understand where it was going from, but I just didn't really like the way it looked. It's just the style just wasn't for me. It just really looked so bleak and lifeless and off-putting. I like it when cinematographies would try to put more style, but this one was just it. So overall, Rocky Balboa, I can totally see where the movie is coming from and where the praise is coming from. Well, kind of, but the movie is really overrated. It was just not for me. It was boring, bland, and I just didn't really care. And for sure by tomorrow, I'm not gonna remember this movie. So with that said, I'm gonna give Rocky Balboa a 5 out of 10. Yeah, it was a pretty mad movie. So also for my review of Rocky Balboa, what is your opinion on this movie? Do you agree with me that this movie is overrated, or do you love this movie as much as others do? The majority does. Comment down below, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for my review of Creed. Oh boy, I am pumped to talk about Creed. Now we're getting into the main reviews, the main two ones. So yeah, bye guys.